More than 30,000 years ago, Neanderthal man became extinct from the planet and its closest species, Homo sapiens, dominated the Earth. They were known as Icemen, and despite their similarities to modern humans, Neanderthals were smaller, more robust in appearance and great hunters. At this time in history, in northern Siberia, a Neanderthal man called Ao is hunting with his friend Boar. After eliminating a deer, the two set off with their sled back home, in the middle of the long snowy desert. Hours later, they find their home in a hidden cave, and one of the clan hastens to call Ao. As soon as he enters the cave, he finds Unak, his wife, giving birth to the couple's daughter, whom they name Nea. After giving birth, the Neanderthal raises his daughter in front of the whole clan, proud of the birth of his successor. He hopes that Nea will be able to continue the people and their legacy, and on this happy day, everyone celebrates by feasting on game. However, when everyone goes to sleep, the sound of screams is heard outside the cave. Ao and Boar go to investigate and find one of their warriors already lifeless, indicating that the creature known only as the Beast has once again attacked the region. Fearing for her daughter's safety, Ao sets out to hunt down the Beast alongside Boar and eliminate it once and for all. On the way, they find a huge footprint in the snow, which frightens Boar because he has already been attacked by the Beast and had his eye cut out by its claws. Even so, the two continue searching for several days, until finally, Ao finds the Beast, which turns out to be a polar bear. Boar, who was hiding under the snow, appears to confront the animal, but the bear knocks him to the ground with one blow, knocking him unconscious. Ao then has to face the bear alone, and when the Beast grabs him and starts biting his neck, the warrior seizes the chance and strikes him with his blade. The fight continues and Ao is at the limit of his strength, but he still doesn't give up and continues to hit the Beast, which can't resist his wounds and falls lifeless to the ground. Hours later, Ao wakes up, and thanks to the bear's skin, he manages to survive the bitter Siberian cold. Unfortunately, Boar wasn't as lucky, and Ao is forced to leave his friend's body behind while he takes the bear to feed his people. After the long walk, Ao finally finds his home and rushes to reunite with his family, without noticing that two unknown men are watching him. Tragically, when the Neanderthal returns to his cave, he discovers that everyone, including Unak and Nea, has been eliminated. Ao suspects that this was the work of modern humans, and his suspicions are confirmed when two of them invade the cave and try to attack him. A fierce fight breaks out, and despite being alone, Ao manages to defeat his enemies and is about to eliminate one of them with his dagger. However, despite his desire for revenge, the warrior doesn't want to end one more life and lets the two humans escape. Now, Ao is the last Neanderthal of his clan, and while he mourns the loss of his friends and family, he remembers how different things were in his childhood. 25 years ago, Ao and his twin brother Oa were playing by the sea when they heard a sound coming from the forest. They follow this strange sound and find a body sitting on the ground with a flute hanging from its neck. Ao likes the object and decides to take it to his father, the clan leader, who has been ill for days and is at the limit of his strength. Like much of the village, he has been affected by an unknown illness, and Ao tries to calm him down by making a sound with the flute, as if it were a song. After this memory, Ao walks aimlessly through the snow, when he comes across a pack of wolves watching him from afar. The Neanderthal imitates the howling of the animals and manages to drive them away, but sadness and tiredness take over Ao, who falls into the snow and falls asleep. At that moment, another memory surfaces and he remembers his first contact with humans. With the disease spreading through the clan, the Neanderthals exchanged weapons, food, and even some of their children with the rival tribe to try to survive. Ao ended up being one of the chosen ones and was separated from his brother Ao, who gave him his flute before saying goodbye. From that day on, the brothers were separated, but Ao found company in Boar, a young man from the tribe who would become his best friend for many years to come. However, now that he has lost everyone he loved, Ao decides to take the road back to his old tribe, in the hope of finding his lost brother again. For several days and nights, the Neanderthal crosses the snowy desert and reaches northern Europe, full of forests and a warm climate. The Neanderthal decides to rest in front of a fire, but is surprised by a herd of cattle and rushes to climb a tree. Ao is very nearly crushed in the explosion, but instead of being frightened, he just admires nature and all the living beings around him even more. The next day, Ao enters the forest and sets off to hunt a wild boar, when he ends up stepping into a hole. Seconds later, a tribe of humans with painted faces captures him and takes him prisoner. Arriving in the village, the natives find Ao strange because of his rough features and hairy face. He tries to say that he has come in peace, but Ao can't understand the tribe's language and is taken to a cell. Soon after, a couple from another tribe are also taken prisoner, with the young man being taken to the Aguk leader to be sacrificed. His wife Aki screams in terror, but it's no use and she is forced to watch her partner being eliminated in front of her, with a dagger straight through his heart. Faced with this frightening scene, Ao is terrified and considers all the painted guys to be savages. After the sacrifice, Aguk goes to the cell and begins to paint Ao's face, as if it were an offer for him to become part of his tribe. However, the warrior refuses, leaving Aguk offended and promising to eliminate the invader. Seeing that he needs to get away as soon as possible, Ao tries to come up with a plan when he sees a bee's nest hanging among the trees. With a lot of effort, the Neanderthal manages to free himself from his bonds, covers his body with mud and, holding his staff, runs towards the nest. As soon as he reaches it, Ao knocks the nest out of the tree, causing the bees to scatter everywhere. Not satisfied, the Neanderthal carries the nest in his hands and runs around the village, protected from stings by the mud on his body. As a result, all the painted guys, including Aguk, run for their lives, while Ao flees through the forest. In the midst of all the confusion, Aki also decides to flee and follows the Neanderthal, who goes to a lake to clean his body. After that, Ao looks for a safe place and finds a cave infested with bats, but he doesn't get scared, thanks to his connection with nature and living beings. Later, Ao builds a fire and tries to get some sleep, when Aki also sneaks in unnoticed and rests in another part of the cave. Hours later, Ao hears screams inside the cave, and when he goes out to investigate, he finds the prisoner giving birth to a baby. As with NEA, he observes the birth of a baby girl, who is given the name Wana by her mother. Although they can't communicate, Ao tries to help them and collects wood to build a fire and keep them warm. The next day, he catches 2 birds to feed them, but Aki is frightened by their strange appearance and tells him to stay away from her daughter. When night comes, Ao takes advantage of the young mother's sleep and takes Wana out of the cave. The Neanderthal believes that the baby is the reincarnation of his daughter NEA, and is determined to protect her. However, when Aki wakes up in the morning, she is enraged to see that her daughter has been taken and vows revenge on Ao. Armed with a spear, she sees the Neanderthal and her baby resting in the forest and is ready to attack when she hears Wana crying. To her surprise, Ao approaches her and hugs her as if she were his daughter, making the little girl calm down. Even so, Aki doesn't trust him, and in a surprise attack, she leaps towards Ao with her spear in hand to eliminate him. The Neanderthal narrowly manages to dodge the attack and the young woman seizes the chance and takes her daughter back. She is about to flee with Wana, but Aki comes across more painted-faced natives, who have arrived to take the prisoner back. The young mother tries to defend herself, but the native strikes her with his spear and knocks her unconscious on the ground. Meanwhile, another native advances towards Ao and the two engage in a duel. Even though the painted face has a spear to fight with, the Neanderthal is more skillful, and as well as disarming his opponent, he knocks him unconscious with a blow to the head. He then sees the native woman trying to take Wana, and with one punch, he knocks her to the ground and saves the child. All the commotion is heard by Aguk, who throws his spear at Ao, but he easily blocks it with his arm. Even so, the leader of the tribe jumps on Ao and starts attacking him with punches, but the Neanderthal gets rid of the man and strikes back. The two adversaries then face each other and start shouting at each other, like wild animals roaring to see who is the strongest. In the end, not even Aguk can overcome Ao's determination and leaves, taking the other natives back to the village. After the confrontation, Ao takes Wana into his arms and hands her over to her mother, who regains consciousness and thanks him for his help. Wana, however, continues to cry and Ao believes she is hungry. He then gestures to Aki that she should breastfeed her, and when she does, Wana finally calms down and falls asleep in her mother's arms. Although she still doesn't fully trust Ao, Aki decides to accompany him on his journey to find a safe place where she can raise her daughter. During the walk, Ao sees visions of his brother Oa beating a small tree trunk as if it were a drum. The young woman sees nothing, but these visions show the places where the Neanderthal last saw his brother, indicating that he is nearby. The journey continues, but Ao begins to feel unwell, with a bloody nose, severe headaches and a cough. Everything indicates that he too has been infected by the same disease that took his father, but Ao doesn't intend to give up until he finds his brother. More days pass and the three of them cross a lake, when Aki sees a tree lying on the ground and recognizes it from somewhere. The two continue walking, until Ao begins to deteriorate rapidly and can barely stand. Because of this, Aki decides to carry her daughter the rest of the way, but when the two cross the lake, Ao gets a severe headache and falls to the ground. Aki decides to take Ao's spear and set off alone with her daughter. However, when she looks back, she feels sorry for the Neanderthal, and despite the weight, Aki carries Ao and Wana on her back the rest of the way. Shortly afterwards, she finds her people's old camp, but the place is uninhabited. Aki then remembers that years ago, Aguk and the painted guys attacked her tribe, with most of the villagers being wiped out and a few survivors managing to escape. Even so, she decides to rest there, and as well as setting up a fire, Aki uses plants she finds in the forest to make a medicine. More days pass, and thanks to the young woman's care, Ao gradually gets better from his illness and regains his energy. In the meantime, Aki is in charge of hunting and feeding Ao, who becomes increasingly fond of her. After long days of recovery, the Neanderthal is finally cured and Aki shows him the plants she used for the medicine. Now that he knows how to cure his people, Ao is even more determined to find his brother and help the people he left behind. However, while resting in front of the fire, the two hear the sound of stones rolling down the hill. Aki and Ao go to investigate and see Aguk and his warriors on the hillside, waiting for them. Without hesitating, Aki picks up her spear and throws it at one of the soldiers, who is hit hard and falls to the ground lifeless. In response, Aguk and the others go on the attack, forcing the couple to hide Wana in a cave. They are followed by the tribe, but manage to lose them and find a small tunnel through which they can cross. However, Wana's crying gives away their location and Aguk tries to follow them through the narrow tunnel. Ao takes off his coat made from polar bear skin, sets it on fire and throws it at Aguk, who is frightened by the flames and is forced to retreat. After escaping from the group, the couple continue exploring the cave, when they find a place full of cave drawings. Ao is startled by the images, but Aki soon recognizes that they were made by her people. The young woman then shows him how to do it, and when she finds some paint, she pours it on the ground and puts her hand over it. She then does the same with Ao, leaving their hands in the cave as a sign that they have both been there. This experience brings the two even closer together and Aki begins to believe that Ao can be trusted. More days pass and the trio manage to leave the cave, with Aki and Ao finally learning to communicate. In addition, the young woman teaches the Neanderthal how to throw a spear accurately. Ao learns quickly and the two continue their long journey, reaching the region of Central Europe. A place without many animals around, forcing them to feed on plants and seeds. One day, they find another cave, filled with the bones of huge animals that have been there for a long time. Ao notices traces of his people there, and when he explores the cave further, he finds a pile of skulls scattered around, which appear to be those of members of his tribe. In a form of homage, Ao gathers all the skulls together in one place and pays his respects to all those who lost their lives. Afterwards, he goes to talk to Aki, but is attacked by surprise by an unknown man, who knocks him unconscious with a blow to the head. He also appears to be a Neanderthal and goes to talk to a tribe of humans, whose bodies are painted yellow. After finding out what happened, they go to see the intruders and are happy to see someone of the same species, like Aki and Wana. However, just as they did with the old Neanderthal, they reject Ao because of his appearance. Finally, the leader of the tribe tells him to leave and even threatens to attack him with a spear, but the Neanderthal disarms him and breaks the weapon in half, indicating that he has come in peace. Despite this, the tribe continue to reject him and start throwing stones at him. This makes Aki furious, and in an attempt to save Ao, she stands in front of him and tells the Neanderthal to leave, as this is not his place. Hurt, Ao leaves the cave, and in the middle of the night, he builds a fire and once again sees the image of his brother. This vision only motivates the Neanderthal to continue his journey alone, but first he throws his fur coat from the top of the cave, which ends up with Aki and she uses it as a bed for her daughter. The next morning, Ao goes to hunt a rodent for food when he comes across Aki. He is still sad that she sent him away, but as an apology, the young woman lets him carry Wana in his arms, as if she were his daughter. With this gesture, the two finally reconcile and continue their journey in search of Oa and his tribe. They end up in a forest on fire, and suddenly a herd of horses passes them by. Despite this beautiful moment, Aki hasn't eaten properly for days and has no milk left to breastfeed her daughter. In the midst of this desperate situation, Ao sets off to hunt, when he sees a mare and her foal coming towards him. Thanks to his contact with nature, the mare approaches without attacking and Aki manages to get some of her milk to give to Wana. The two thank the animal for its help and let it go, with Aki looking at Ao with even more admiration and considering him worthy to be Wana's father. With their energy restored, the pair finally find the place where Ao's tribe used to live. The Neanderthal is excited to meet his brother again and calls out Oa's name, hearing the sound of a drum in response. Ao believes it is his brother answering and runs into the cave, but all he finds is the skin of a lamb, its paw hitting a stake. Nearby, Ao finds Oa's body and weeps to discover that his brother is no longer alive, as is his entire clan. Faced with this tragedy, Ao goes to the other side of the mountain and plays his flute for the last time, as a farewell to the people he has lost. He then throws the flute over the cliff, because now that his brother is gone, the hope of keeping his tribe alive is lost forever. He even considers jumping off the cliff, but then Aki appears and shouts at him as if to ask Ao not to do it. The Neanderthal has a crisis of conscience, and after almost making a mistake, he changes his mind and decides to go back. Suddenly, the edge of the mountain begins to give way and Ao slips, with Aki screaming in terror, believing that he has fallen and is gone forever. Fortunately, Ao manages to hold on at the last second, and with effort, he climbs back up the mountain and hugs Aki and Wana. Despite having lost his family and his people, Ao realizes that he has the chance to start a new life, alongside his partner and daughter. 4 years pass and Ao is walking through the countryside, with Wana sitting on his shoulder and Aki, who is expecting the arrival of the couple's child. The family has decided to live far away from other tribes, fearing that they won't be accepted, just as they were in the past. Even so, they live happily among the mountains and Wana grows every day under Ao's care. One day, the three of them gather in front of the sea, and while Ao is building a fire, Aki calls them over to listen to the baby's heartbeat. Ao is happy to realize that even if he is the last Neanderthal alive, the blood of his people will continue to flow through his son. After centuries, the extinction of the Neanderthal remains a mystery, and among all human species, only Homo sapiens has managed to survive. Even so, the Neanderthal has left its mark on history and humanity continues in the eternal struggle for survival. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.